Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back. After a week-long hiatus, we're back for episode 43 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast, the official MMA podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
Hey, guys.
Dippers, unfortunately, we were not here last week, so we did not get to break down the wildness which was UFC 234. So we will actually touch on that today and talk about, obviously Robert Whittaker and the odd scenario that is surrounding that fight. We will talk about the ESPN1 card on Sunday, give you some winners. Obviously, Shackelford was hot before the hiatus, so we're going to see if he can stay on the streak. But before we do any of that, Leighton C., producer, you know what to do.
Welcome to the Knuckle Sammich podcast with Thomas R. Shackelford,
A Sauce on the Side production. All right, Mr. Shackelford, so today we are actually recording this on Valentine's Day. So sounds like both of our Valentine's Day went just as expected.
It's the best Valentine's Day. I mean, just rest and relaxation. That's the Valentine's Day of. That's the best one. Leighton C's. He's having the worst. He's having the worst that I can think of.
Yes, absolutely. As you can tell, Leighton C is not here, and I do say we were recording this on Valentine's Day. So, Dippers, spoiler alert: Leighton C might be on a date.
Yeah, you think about the nerves, and does she like me as much as I like her, and I don't really know if I like her as much as she likes me, and does she really like me at all, and did I wash my undercarriage good enough? How low did I trim the stuff?
We're talking about Leighton C. There's no way he washed himself appropriately.
Did she wash her undercarriage? Where do you go out to eat on? Here's my big thing. I've never been a huge dater. That's just not my style. But where do you take a girl out to eat before you date?
On a Valentine's date?
You got to think Italians out, Mexicans out, Red Lobsters out. All these things are going to bloat you, make you gassy, ruin your night. Yeah. So what do? You go out and you have a lemon water and a cracker? I don't understand.
I don't know. Leighton C's he's not more of a lemon water guy. He's more like a cranberry vodka guy. But yeah, I guess he could make do with that. What would you think Leighton C's perfect date would be?
Oh, this is going to make him sound cheap, but since I've been coming over here...
You make him sound cheap? What else could? I mean...
Since I've been coming over here...
The guy was talking about betting 50 cents last week.
I noticed that every single Wednesday I come over to record, he's eating pizza.
Yes.
So that leads me to believe that he either... is just one of those people that's, tonight's pizza night, which I can, everybody's got their thing. But it also leads me to believe he might eat pizza several days of the week.
I will fix this for you. So on Sunday, I came over. We watched the AAF. We were interested in what that was. We sat down, watched college basketball basically all day. And about halfway through the second game that we were watching, I was like, he looks at me, he goes, I'm hungry. He goes, let's order a pizza. I said, okay. So we ordered a pizza from a local pizza restaurant, and after I get done eating my pizza, I go throw my pizza box away. Well, sitting right on top of all of his other trash is a Domino's pizza box. He had to have eaten that pizza within the last day or two.
Yeah. So that leads me to believe those stories and every Wednesday showing up to him eating a pizza. And actually, the new restaurant in town, he complained the last time I was here that the pizza was overpriced. It leads me to believe that he probably took this young lady to a nice, a Pizza Hut style meal with a salad bar. Told her not to eat too many pepperonis. Hold the onions. Do you think he sprung for breadsticks?
Was it an upcharge?
Yeah. We're gonna say it's an upcharge.
Then absolutely not. Honestly, I think Leighton C's perfect date, and this is no joke. He picks the girl up, and he says, "Okay, we're going dinner and a movie." Obviously, a movie.
I forgot all about movie.
I fully believe that he just shows up and she says, "Oh, are we getting dinner afterwards?" And he just looks at her and winks and doesn't say a word. And halfway through the movie, the Domino's pizza guy comes walking into the movie theater holding 2 pizzas, and they sit in the movie theater and eat pizza.
I could see it. That would be the perfect date for him. That would be the perfect date.
Yeah, and then maybe take her to like the animal shelter or something like that. I'm fully convinced.
Next week we need to at least get a glimpse of, maybe not the after party, but at least the pre-party. What went on tonight?
Yeah, we'll definitely.
I don't want to know the after hours part.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully he doesn't listen to this, so we can kind of just like catch him off guard next week. But if he does, I think he's going to come in guns a-blazing, like trying to defend his honor.
Yeah, he'll know. He'll know exactly what to say by next week if he listens up.
I really do hope that he's sitting in a movie theater though, eating pizza, and then he listens to this like tomorrow, the next day. Can you imagine how pissed off he's going to be, like of how predictable this man has become?
I guess the only, I think we pegged it, but the only thing I would wonder is, would he take her to like an Oscar-worthy movie, one of those you have to really be into, or just your Powerpuff movie?
I don't know.
Because he doesn't seem like the guy that's going to spring extra money to see a Powerpuff movie and then also see like a critically acclaimed movie in the same week. So wonder if he kills 2 birds with one stone and gets your latency's picks tonight on his date. He's got notes going now.
Oh yeah, he's sitting there just writing them down. And the best part will be on Monday is if he starts off his entertainment review with, "So I actually went and watched this movie with a woman. there I was eating a pepperoni pizza."
Oh mercy! I wish him the best.
Oh, so do I.
Best of luck.
So do I. So we'll go ahead and get to some fights here. So UFC 234 was actually pretty weird. Basically, it was the day of the fight, correct? It came out Robert Whittaker ended up having what it sounded like a strangulated hernia and needing emergency surgery the day of the fight. Basically propelled Kelvin Gastelum to the championship. Just championship status right there. I don't know what he's ever done to deserve a belt in the UFC. Basically what everybody else has done, just missed weight a bunch of times, pull out a bunch of fights, and then bam, you've got yourself a participation trophy at the end of the day. How weird is it that there was basically no signs of any of this happening until the day of the fight, and then bam, we're sitting there, emergency surgery, Robert Whittaker's out, now we have a Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya, not title fight, but main event. How do you think that came about? That was so bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, we both work in the healthcare field. I mean, it's not abnormal to have like some sudden events happen, but a twisted bowel or whatever. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I picked up one of those books. But maybe a twisted bowel or something like that can happen just all of a sudden. But the hernia part was what kind of struck me as weird, because it said it was actually poking out. So you got to think that there's already a tear in the abdominal wall somewhere. Surely to shit he wasn't like lifting anything, because it happened like 4 or 5 hours before the show was supposed to go on.
Yeah,
so
that's what I thought was so bizarre about it. They
said he started hurting late into the night, and he was rehydrating, and he started hurting, and then it got worse and worse through the night, and then in the morning they went in, but they didn't find out what was wrong till the afternoon. I mean, I think you said it earlier, a strangulated hernia is pretty common if you have a pretty bad hernia or something, but like you said, there's got to be some signs.
Yeah.
I mean, surely he didn't have it poking out and he just poked it back in for the doctors to see him and just think he was going to be cool.
Well, I mean, we've seen it before with like I know Tim Kennedy was one of the biggest people like out speaking out about this, like all the hoops that they make you jump through in order to take a fight. It's just so bizarre to me that would be It seems like something that they would catch in just like a high school sports physical. And you're telling me that the UFC overlooked that?
We've all had our balls rubbed up on.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't... Weird, super weird. And I don't know if you saw any pictures, but Kelvin Gastelum looked like a freaking leopard. Did you see any of those pictures? He had 2 huge ringworm spots on his lower, between his chin and his lip. 2 huge ringworm spots. They did look to be dried up, but then he had like it was like a zit on steroids on the back of his neck. It was probably staph.
Yeah.
So I almost sent you a text like, had we picked this week, I would have picked Whitaker, but I definitely would have picked him seeing that giant nasty staph.
They should have just let them both fight. How fun! And that would have made it an interesting fight.
Gastelum looked so gross, I would not have fought him probably. I'd have been like, what in the hell is on this guy? So, weird. And it was a bummer because, me and you talked. You had said, this fight card looks pretty cool. I'd like to see it, which I did. Just those top 2. I was like, oh, I would like to see this. Maybe we'll catch it. But then after that fight fell out, I started looking at the card, and I was like, wait a second. There's only 2 fights on this card. Yeah. That's pretty much the end of the card right there.
No, yeah, that 2 fights, really? I think that's the only one. Like, the other one was more of like just, I don't know, like a dog and pony show, like it would be something that you're going to watch. It'd be entertaining, but really, did you think it was going to be that damn good of a fight? And that's what we'll talk about now. Israel Adesanya. Wow, Leighton's cats are really doing some wild shit when he's gone.
They know what he's up to.
Yeah, they don't like this. But Israel Adesanya picked up a 3-round decision over Anderson Silva. Very, very weird fight. I saw a lot of people come out and say how awesome of a fight it was, that it was the main event and all this. What were your thoughts? I'm going to tell you what I think, but I imagine we're going to be on the same boat here.
I didn't see it online, or I had to see it online the next day. I thought when they first signed this fight, I thought, like, I don't want to see that. Like, Silva's chin's not very good anymore. 10 years ago, this would have been an amazing fight. But then I got online, everybody, it said they won fight of the night, and I was like, oh, this must have been really good. So I'm watching it, and it wasn't bad. Like, I liked the fight while I was watching it, but it was almost because you were watching because what could happen. So, like, if you watched it, it's basically like watching one of those old school Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon movies. You had one guy throwing kind of funky techniques. The other guy would either block, move out of the way, and then he would take his turn throwing techniques. It was a fun. It's not one that I think I'll go back and watch though. Like I talk all the time about really great fights. We were talking about Nate Diaz versus Cowboy. I went back and watched that fight, and I'd forgotten quite a bit. I didn't realize it went 3 rounds. But it was a fun fight, and I can watch it over and over. Whereas this one, I already know the ending,
right,
and I already know exactly what happens. It was a fun. It was like the climax. It was what the anticipations were. The anticipation that got me going. I did think Anderson did show some stuff on Adesanya that really. He only got he didn't get dropped, but he got kind of reverie-legged one time. After that, he took a lot of hard shots, and he gave some really good shots. And probably the number one thing that I noticed that he did that I don't recall him ever doing before that worked really, really, really well on Adesanya was just a counter right hook, which is a pretty basic punch everybody throws. But then he was going old school collar tie, dirty, like Randy Couture, dirty boxing. And when he did that, every time Adesanya didn't seem to really have an answer, they would just kind of eventually break up from it. So for Silva, I mean, it was a really, really good for him. He didn't get knocked out. He went with the young dog. We kind of all knew the young dog was going to win. He didn't get embarrassed. It was competitive. Adesanya, he got a win over the legend, but kind of showed a couple holes.
Absolutely.
So, Weidman kind of came out on Twitter and spoke and was like, he's kind of overrated. And really, a guy like Weidman, a guy like Jacare that can get up close, and just if anybody can put a real good collar tie on them, I mean, all those other guys kind of stood on the outside waiting for the opportunity, and they got beat up. Whereas Anderson at one point started just bum rushing him, throwing a bunch of punches, and they're like, "Oh, you don't want to do that." But then he'd get in that collar tie and start getting some effective strikes off.
It kind of reminded me like Tyrone Woodley style. Like he would sit there and then all of a sudden just bam. Yep. It'd just be 500 punches in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And watching this fight, it reminded me a lot of this year's Super Bowl. where I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know this guy's great. I know this guy's great. When is something going to happen? And it never really did. I know there was a part of the fight, I can't remember if it was the second round or the end of the first. I know it wasn't the third. No, it wasn't the end. It was like 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and I think it was the second round. Like 3 minutes and 50-something seconds. Anderson Silva's standing there with his back up against the cage. Adesanya standing in the middle of the ring. And they basically had a staring contest. Like, Anderson Silva tried to wave him over, he wouldn't come. Adesanya waved him over, he wouldn't come.
Yeah.
And they kept waving each other back and forth. And it held up 50 seconds of the fight. Like, people want to complain about fights going to the ground and it gets boring. Like, at least there's contact. In that fight, and in that instance, in that 50 seconds of the fight, they seriously did not get within 10 feet of each other, and they just stood there and had a staring contest. And I have a problem with fights like that.
It was almost like a sparring session. I don't know. It was almost like a kind of a heated sparring session where they weren't being so friendly like that they were. I remember Uriah Hall had a fight with a guy whose name is escaping me, but that was the weirdest fight I've ever seen. They would like throw a punch and then hug, and then punch and hug and punch. That was a weird fight altogether. But this one was at least sort of heated, but like you said, like there was a lot of inactivity to, oh, well, let me show you what I can do. Oh, let me show you what I can. It was like watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, old school kung fu movie. It's a weird one. It's a weird one for sure. For sure a weird one. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, it's definitely goes in a weird category.
Yeah, like I saw people talking about, oh, this was like a Mortal Kombat game. Oh, this was something like I've never seen before. Do you really want that again?
It was a Mortal Kombat game that the time ran out, that neither guy actually finished each other.
Yeah. I never got the finish him. I was just like, you see that and you think that one of the dudes are going to turn into like a scorpion or somebody's going to rip somebody's heart out, but like instead they just basically had a staring contest. I was very disappointed by the card, and there was one that I actually thought had quite a bit of promise. So we'll go ahead and talk about a card. I think it has quite a bit of promise. I'll get your input on it. UFC, ESPN 1, actually. I think it's going to be on ESPN 1.
Yeah, it's the first one.
The official ESPN, so you won't have to jump through any hoops. You should just be able to find it on channel 140 or 206, whatever you use. And we have some good fights. We have some very good fighters, a lot of notable names. And I think that they did this on purpose. They put us a good card on ESPN just to get everybody jacked up. I think so.
Well, you said it might be a good card. Dude, there's great fighters in the entire card. It's really good.
Yeah.
It makes me even look at last week's card and be like, hey, you couldn't at least throw like 2 of these fights over there to Australia? Jesus Christ.
No, because, I mean, you look at this card and you kind of wonder, like, how the hell is this free?
Yeah.
You know? So we'll go ahead and start off. Heavyweight matchup. We have Francis Ngannou taking on Cain Velasquez. Ngannou is a plus 135 dog to Cain Velasquez, minus 165 favorite. Might be a little surprising to some. Cain Velasquez, obviously, as big as a name as it comes in UFC history at the heavyweight weight class. One fight since 2015. Since June of 2015, he's had one fight. Do you think Cain Velasquez is rightfully the favorite in this fight?
It does surprise me he's the favorite. It was that big of one, especially. I mean, the Travis, he's had so many injuries, and he was like the murderer of the heavyweight division. JDS did have that one, which this is kind of interesting, the opening of the Fox era. he fought JDS on that card, Junior Dos Santos. So that they were the headliner, and Junior knocked him out in like 30 seconds. He later avenged those, but other than that, he's had 0 hiccups until his injuries built up, which was what happened against Verdum. He had some serious back and neck stuff. And I think UFC 200, he crushed Travis Brown, and we haven't seen him since. Which, it says, well, this is ESPN1, but they're on like UFC 235 right now. I mean, you're still looking at a couple years, so.
Yeah, that was 2016, I believe.
Okay, so we're like 3 years. I think he's going to win. I think stylistically, he's going to get right in Ngannou's face. I think he's going to be like Stipe did. He's going to get right on Ngannou's chest and face, beat him up in the clinch, and take him down and just wear him out. The only real problem I see with it is, I mean, always Ngannou's got that huge hand, and he just, look at Curtis Blades. We thought he was going to just mop the floor with him, and he got clipped. So he has that opportunity to get clipped, but what worries me more is how healthy is Cain. If Cain's not healthy and he can't go 5 rounds, or he can't get in his face and push the pace like he used to, it's gonna be trouble. It's gonna be trouble.
No, I definitely agree with you. If we were looking at 2 guys and we knew that both were healthy, I think Cain Velasquez is the easiest pick. I think the reason why the odds are so close is because people are worried if he's healthy or not. I do think that Cain Velasquez is the smart bet there, and unfortunately, I think that you probably need to bet that now, because once it comes around, people are going to realize, oh, Cain Velasquez, big name. People are going to hammer that coming around fight time. So we'll go ahead and head to the lightweight matchup. Actually, I mean, every single fight that we're going to read off, even we're going to get all the way down to Jimmy Rivera and Aljamain Sterling, and they're not even technically like the main card.
I think they're like 7 or 8 fights down.
Yeah, so this card is loaded. Lightweight matchup. The Texecutioner, James Vick, will be taking on Paul Felder. These odds are very, very close. James Vick is minus 125. Paul Felder is minus 105. So you really don't have an edge either way there. But stylistically, who do you think has the advantage here, and ultimately who will win?
I think Felder's going to win. He's coming off that broken arm. He had that kind of close fight with Mike Perry, where at the last minute he jumped up to 70. He got a broken arm in that fight. And then Vick's coming off a KO loss to Gaethje, and which when we broke that one down, it happened just the way we broke it down. Gaethje got in there and hit him with a big right. I see Felder. He doesn't. I don't know if he has like the one-punch KO power with his hands that a Gaethje has. But I see him getting on the inside, and his variety attack just kind of wearing James Vick out. So,
yeah, I think that will be a good fight. That's actually one of the ones I'm actually more excited for.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I like Paul Felder a lot. He's had a lot of. All his losses have been close losses. He's a guy. He's at the top of the division, but most people just remember him from his losses, unfortunately, and he's really good on the mic too. So he'll have a career after that. But I think he's one of those guys. He's always going to be a middle of the road guy. I don't know if he's a guy that's going to beat a guy like Khabib up in there, but I mean he could. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he's just maybe a hair less than those guys at this point.
Right. I think it is interesting though that you're getting him at a slight dog. So women's strawweight, we have Courtney Casey opens as one of the biggest favorites on the card, if not the biggest favorite, minus 325 over Cynthia Calvillo, plus 125. Who do you think has the edge in that fight, and who will win?
I'm gonna go this Calvillo. I like her. She's a tough girl. She's had a little weight issues, if I remember correctly. She actually was going up against Carla Esparza. Esparza beat her, and that was kind of an upset there. But she's had a lot of good wins. If there was a dog that I would feel comfortable picking, it would be her over Courtney Casey. Courtney Casey also very tough. If I remember correctly about her, she's very big for the weight class. She's 8-6 though. She just had and I think Angela Hill. to tell you the truth, she's coming off 3 losses. Angela Hill absolutely beat her in her last one. I don't know how the judges got that. So she's big, she's athletic, but overall she doesn't have a ton of skills. We're gonna go Calvillo here. I feel like that's a solid dog pick. I didn't know she was a dog. That was just my pick.
And she's a pretty good sized dog too. But like we've seen in the past, we've seen him win.
In comparison, she's got a 7-1 record, whereas Casey's got 8-6. So Casey's got more fights, but like her actual MMA skills, I don't think are as good as Calvillo's.
Right.
And one more thing, I'm sorry, Michelle Watterson beat Casey with. Just because it's a dog, I'll break it down anymore. Michelle Watterson beat Casey with some just kind of quick nitpicking stand-up with some takedowns. Casey's takedown defense wasn't that good, whereas Calvillo, if I'm remembering correctly, she's a pretty solid wrestler. So I think she's going to out-wrestle her pretty solidly.
Yeah, and she beat Joanna Underwood, and she's kind of taken off since then.
The JoJo?
Yeah.
JoJo Calderwood or whatever?
Calderwood, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at her record, she's beat ABC, which is Amanda Bobby Cooper, Pearl Gonzalez, who she fights in Invicta. She's out of Chicago, but she's one of the top girl fighters right now. Beat JoJo Calderwood, and like I said, she lost to Carla Esparza, but that was I think we picked it actually. I think we picked that dog win. But that was a bit of an upset. And then she beat up Poliana Botello, who was also a big favorite that night, I think, also. So.
All right, so there you have it.
Shackelford's Lock Dog of the Week.
She's an alpha male, team alpha male, so you absolutely know she knows how to wrestle. So.
Yes. You're right, make sure of that. So we'll go ahead and head to the featherweight match. I don't know. This is one of my guilty pleasures to watch. I know his record's not great, but it's Alex Caceres. Caceres.
No, that's not right either. All right, Bruce Leroy.
Dude, that's all I know him as is Bruce Leroy. Every time I see his name, I just refer to him as Bruce Leroy. He has one of the coolest nicknames. He's one of the most fun guys to watch. Even when he's getting beat, he's fun to watch. He makes every fight exciting. He's going to be taking on Cron Gracie. I think Cron Gracie only has like a 4-0 record. But he opens up as a huge favorite over Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy is plus 240. Gracie is minus 310. Is he just basically getting benefit of the doubt because he is a Gracie? Or
well, he's getting the benefit of the doubt because he's Cron Gracie. That is ice cream Cron. He's cold as ice. The Gary Tonin interview, Cron was, when Tonin was just breaking into that upper echelon of submission grappling, Cron was kind of the man at the time. I'm sure he's lost in some sub grappling stuff, but like ADCC wise, like he was just mowing people down. He's got that he's the son of Rickson Gracie, who in jiu-jitsu is like the Jesus of he's the Jesus of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like everybody knows there. Think of this in wrestling or basketball or any other sport. There's usually some argument of who's the best. Like no matter the time. But well, when Jordan played in his era, he was the best guy. You know. And now I feel LeBron not quite gets that, but during Rickson Gracie's time, people just knew that he was the best person on the planet. Just hands down, there was no question. And that's pretty rare to have any sport in any portion of its life to have that. Well, he's the son of Rickson, so he has that, mystique about him. He's kind of an eccentric guy, really good friends with the Diaz brothers, trains with them, strikes a little bit like them.
So he's tough.
Tough as shit. He's super weird conspiracy theory guy, triathlete, which I actually think he started training triathlons with the Diaz brothers, and it didn't take any time, and he was beating them in triathlons.
Wow.
So, cardio is going to be out of this world. His striking's not very good, but his grappling he has that Rickson Gracie style where his philosophy is, he takes you down, gets on top, and he just moves. If you land in guard, he passes your guard. Then he mounts you, and then he chokes you. There's no back step. There's no, okay, I'm going to do this, and you're going to go back to half guard, and then I'm going to do this, and you're going to get full guard, and I'll go back to half, and then I'll mount, and then you'll roll out. And it's lockdown jiu-jitsu. I'm putting you on your back, and I'm choking you out, and that's the end of the story. He did that in submission grappling to all the best guys. He is only 4-0. He's only fought in Japan. And actually, I think Bruce Leroy is kind of a tough test for him coming straight into the UFC. We've seen Bruce Leroy have some really good fights. With some really good guys. So it kind of strikes me as odd that they're throwing him in there against him. So, an upset might happen. You might see a Grease Lightning Bruce Leroy that can't be taken down, just peppering Gracie up. But I really think you're going to see Kron Gracie. If he can't get him down, he'll pull guard, sweep him, get on top, choke him out. So I'm really excited to see Kron. So.
Yeah, I think.
And it sucks because Bruce Leroy is like everybody knows Bruce Leroy.
Oh yeah, dude. Like whenever he was going to fight, was it Artem?
Yeah,
that was going to be like the greatest fight of all time of guys who are like 500 records.
And that one did. That one didn't happen. They got pulled off because of the
McGregor.
Yeah, it was
Dollygate.
Yeah, Dollygate ended that shit.
Yeah.
That would have been. Hey, real quick, since you brought him up, guess where Artem Lobov just signed to fight?
Oh, I knew he was. I don't know where, but I knew he was looking for a job.
Bare knuckle boxing.
Oh shit!
He signed up for that bare knuckle boxing that I think I wrote an article on it.
So is he already the GOAT?
Now he might be blowing some smoke up some ass, but he told ESPN's Brett Okamoto, I think it was, that they're paying him six figures.
Good for him.
6-figure contract. He can sign with he can do MMA fights also. So like it's an open-ended contract.
How crazy do you have to be to want to fight MMA, also do your bare knuckle boxing, and take more fights?
Hey, some of those fighters, they're legit fighters. There are some. This league that he signed with is the legit one. You remember Beck Rawlings?
Oh, yeah.
She was just in it. There's a video I'll have to tweet out, and you guys will have to tweet it out. But she got fucking hit in the mouth. She just spits a tooth out and just goes back out. She's won 3 fights. She's like the woman's champ right now. It's some brutal shit. There was another league that just came out. You remember me telling you that Johnny Hendricks fought in it?
Oh, yeah.
And he fought a former gay porn star.
Yeah, I remember that. He got beat.
He got beat. Guess who else was supposed to be on that card?
Who?
Shawn Merriman.
What?
The NFL.
No, lights out, dude.
Yes, he was supposed to be on it, but
they don't drug test, do they?
No. There was some financial things, and he ended up backing out last minute. But they were prepping it, or they were running all this media attention on him. Anyways, a bunch of those fighters didn't get paid. None of them on that card got paid. But Merriman and a few other higher name guys were noticed that shit was getting sketchy, so they just didn't show up.
Guys who probably dealt with people before,
sketchy,
yeah.
And Hendricks went ahead and fought on the card, got fucking clobbered, and a couple other people did too, and none of them got paid. So I think that one was called the World Bare Knuckle Boxing Championships, whereas the one Artem signed with is the legit one that I've watched a couple times. I think it's just called Bare Knuckle Boxing or something. Well, we'll have to tweet out the next one up. It's fucking brutal. But since you brought up Artem, I think it's hilarious that a dude's 13 and 18, and he's friends with Connor and his main training partner, and the son of a bitch gets a 6-figure contract for basically just wanting to fight everybody.
Yeah.
He don't give a shit.
Yeah, basically in a league where nobody else even sees a penny of the money, he's making 6 figures.
And they're fighting on Indian reservations and shit. So
no kidding.
It's pretty. It's in its infancy right now. It is fun. It's fun as hell to watch, but it's just strange that they're able to pay him 6 figures. It makes me think that he's full of shit. When he's telling people that he's the GOAT of
casino
MMA
money, dude.
Shit,
he's in there on that casino money.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
I know that Well, this was 6 years ago, probably plus. Leighton C and I, whenever there was a first bare knuckle boxing thing, like it was the first one that was coming out. They did like a pay-per-view, and like I bought a UFC card one time, so then I got a bare knuckle boxing thing for like. It was seriously like $1 extra. So I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. Leighton C came over, we were watching it. There was some Scandinavian guy who comes out there with like the dirtiest looking mullet mohawk you've ever seen in your life. Kept spitting his mouthpiece out and making the guy punch him in the face. Like he maybe had he had his molars still and maybe like one or two extra teeth. But like the guy was the craziest guy you ever seen. Like he'd spit his mouthpiece out, he'd put his tongue out and like look at the guy with wily eyes and seriously put his hands behind his back with his tongue still out, and the guy would use his face as a speed bag, and then he would just I don't know what he would just like go Tasmanian devil for like 30 seconds. And he survived every round.
He's that's why he don't have no teeth. That's why he only had two molars.
It took no time at all to realize why this guy didn't have any teeth, and they had him fighting like a pit.
Oh God!
Yeah, it was. It wasn't.
This is not as shady as that. This is not as shady. As
no, whenever I say pit, like you probably immediately thought like Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, that's what I was
like Joe Dirt style fight. No, it was like. It was a huge, think of like a big wrestling circle, and then the edge is raised up probably like 3 feet, and then it's a slight incline all the way down to the middle circle.
Oh, shit.
And then you stand inside there and you fight.
Till you die. That's
basically, yes. No, that guy went in there thinking like kill or be killed.
Oh, man. You got to be a special person to want to fight bare knuckle in a
pit
in a situation like that.
for $1 pay-per-view buy. It was, dude, it was awesome. I think
it's no wonder Leighton hates all these MMA fights.
I ruined him.
Like the first one he ever watched is some dude like that.
I ruined him. He's still like expecting that guy to come back.
Fights at Hurley's Roadhouse
yes.
out by 57. Yes. No wonder he hates MMA.
Yeah, it was a great card though. So we'll go ahead and get back on fights. We'll stay on on another featherweight matchup. We have Andre Fili, Miles Jury. Andre Fili opens as a plus 125 dog. Miles Jury is a minus 155 favorite. Whenever I first saw these odds, I was very surprised to see Fili as the dog. Shackelford, what do you think?
We're gonna go Fili, man. His last fight, I think he lost a really close split decision. I don't remember. He's fought really, really well. I actually follow Lee Kemp on social media. I went to a little mini camp of him a couple years ago. He was from Illinois area, like central Illinois area. So I started following him. But he's out there at Team Alpha Male. Running a lot of the wrestling stuff out there with him, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I see him posting pictures with Fili and stuff. So, and really, that was Fili's biggest problem. His two biggest problems were just going out there and wanting to throw down like a Tank Abbott fight, and then his wrestling. He got taken down quite often, but. You know, he's looked a lot better, and I don't trust Miles Jury, man.
No, you can't. Every time I trust him, he loses.
Yeah, he's got to be one of the hottest, and not only hottest and coldest, but we're talking. It's an on-off switch. It's either he's there, he shows up, he looks good, he fights, or it's not him. It's not him. So you gotta go with the guy that's, he's a proven. He can get into that flow state, whether he wins or loses. That's neither here nor there. But he gets in that flow state of combat. You got to pick him over the guy that sometimes just shows up and would rather be in the third row.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's a bummer too, because whenever Miles Jury's on, like we talk all the time, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like that was made for Miles Jury.
Yeah, that was. They might have actually written that book about him. I'm not sure.
So last fight on here. This is actually not even on the main card. It's Jimmy Rivera and Aljamain Sterling. And this one, in my opinion, this has potential to be fight of the night. Like, it won't surprise me if we look up and we have a fight of the night, like, at any single one of these fights. Jimmy Rivera is a minus 155 favorite to Sterling's plus 125 dog. This is a tough fight to pick, but who do you like?
Man, I don't know. Aljamain's looked really good his last two. You know, we kind of talked about this. These two are, they're match 7 or something on the card. Yeah, they're 7th. 13 fight 7, so they're 6 down. They both got beat by Marlon Moraes, who's beating the shit out of everybody right now. But here they are, 6 fights under the card. So, man, I don't know. Aljamain's grappling is really, really good.
I think this is a fight to get everybody locked in.
It might be. Maybe
like they put it early just to get people locked in.
Yeah. Man.
Because you're looking at these records combined, these guys are 38-5.
Yeah, this is one of the toughest fights I've seen. I don't even really know who to pick here. I could see I'm going to go Jimmy Rivera, and I'm going to go him because I think his striking is a lot more polished than Aljamain. His is a little bit more jumpy in and out to get to his grappling. Now, his grappling, he's a Serra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, Matt Serra, so he's from the Renzo Gracie tree. His grappling is really, really, really good and has looked even better. Really, for some reason, Brian Caraway beat him. You remember that guy that used to sleep with Misha Tate?
Yeah,
no.
We'd always be like, how did he pull that off?
What happened?
I remember whenever he was like, he was ranked like 4th in his weight class and nobody wanted to fight him.
They're like, there's no use.
No.
We don't want to fight Mrs. Tate.
No, absolutely not.
He had that weird loss with him where he got out grappled, but after that, he's really blown through some dudes on the mat. But man, I just see Jimmy Rivera being a little too tight, a little too crisp. Maybe wins the stand-up battle, and Aljamain's kind of stuck doing some desperation shots, and Rivera's no slouch in wrestling either. So.
No, I agree with that. And you look at a guy like Jimmy Rivera, like, I remember the first time I ever watched Jimmy Rivera fight, I had bet the house on Uriah Faber to beat him.
Oh,
and he
killed.
He killed. Like, me sitting there watching that fight was like the worst thing ever. it was basically like betting the under in a football game, and there's both teams return a kickoff to start off.
Shit.
It was terrible, and it was a slow death too. And you look at him; he's 21-1 in his last 22 fights. I mean, the guy is basically shown like 0 holes in his game, with the exception of the one. I'm not going to call it a fluke knockout because, I mean, obviously Moraes has ran through everybody, but the one small hiccup, and it was very early on in the fight. So I just think that he's less holes in his game, where we've seen Aljamain Sterling actually just get beat.
Yeah.
You know, get beat instead of just getting flatline knocked out.
Yeah, I agree.
So are there any things going on in the MMA world that you'd like to talk about before we wrap this show up?
Bellator actually has a card going on right now. Mitrione's fighting Karaktanov, I believe, and there was
on a Thursday?
Yeah, no, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. That's what I was getting ready to say.
Tomorrow night's the Mitrione. They're confusing me because they actually have 2. Listen to this. They have 2 cards playing back-to-back days in...
They're trying to get your eyes off of ESPN.
Uncasville, Connecticut.
What? Where's that?
God only knows.
Is that where? It's
I
not
can
an
tell you
Indian
right now,
reservation.
it's probably like 4 feet under snow. But you got Mitrione's fighting Karaktanov. And you know what? That looks like the only people I recognize on that card. So let me get you. But then that's Friday. Saturday, you got Paul Daly versus MVP. So I don't. That
goodness, dude. Leighton hates me for making watch it. I made him watch one MVP fight because I told him how he was just
broke the dude's skull.
Yes, I'm like,
next fight he's terrible.
I was like, dude, he's like so fun to watch. Leighton's like, when's he gonna start fighting? Come on, when's he? And the guy never did anything. It was like Francis Ngannou hype.
Well, Saturday he's got another chance. He's fighting Paul Daly. You got to think Paul Daly's gonna actually make it a fight. Chet Congo's fighting Vitaly Minakov. Roy Nelson's fighting Mirko Filipovic, which is Crow Cop. Eric Silva. You remember Eric Silva from the UFC?
Oh,
Brazilian
yeah.
dude.
Oh, yeah.
Started out like 50-0, and then USADA came in and he went like 0-50.
So is he back on the USADA program?
Well, guess what? Bellator doesn't really test.
Oh,
so
dude,
we could have vintage Eric Silva.
Dude, he's
here.
a dog.
Hey, that might be a pick right there against Yaroslav Amasov.
He's going to win.
Hey, no USADA. Book it right now. Eric Silva, KO, 32 seconds.
Dude, that actually caught my eye. I had actually looked at these fights the other day, but I completely forgot that they were going on this weekend. Chet Congo, man, I mean, when do you hang him up?
I think he's winning there.
You do?
Look at his record. I think he's on like a win streak.
Yeah, but he was fighting whenever I was like 4.
Yes, very true. I forgot how... Dude, when he first came in the UFC, he was a murderer.
I remember the first UFC video game that used to come out. I used to just always pick Chet Congo.
You're like, give me the biggest mean. Dude, he's on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's on
fought 41 times.
Yeah, he's on a 7-fight win streak.
Oh
the
my
last
goodness.
guy he lost to was freaking King Mo in 2015. He hasn't lost since 2015. Dude, no, just fight forever. If you're just beating up dudes, no
Yes.
problem.
Yes. Do you know how, dude, Ken Shamrock is super jealous right now.
He's like, why didn't I age my career out like that? So there's a shitload of fights on the next couple of days. Bellator, they may not have the big names, but a lot of times they have some pretty good fights. I don't know if those are on DAZN or if they're on the Paramount Network. I didn't look into that.
Yeah, I didn't look into that either. Mitchell,
Did I
is he going to
ever-
win?
If that Karatanov's, he just fucked up Roy Nelson.
Yeah, I remember that.
Karatanov's a badass. I just always remember him from Pride coming out and he looked like Guile. He looked like the Russian Guile from Street Fighter. He had a beret. He'd have his paratrooper suit on, and he's coming out there, and I'm like...
He looked like a guy you'd play with on Call of Duty.
Exactly, yeah. So, that's a tough one. They're both strike. You know what? I'm going to call it. I'm going to call a Karatanov win.
What about MVP?
Oh,
I think Paul Daly could beat him.
Paul Daly,
if he looks like he did last time,
can definitely get in his face. There's not going to be any wrestling. He can definitely get in his face and make it a fight. I don't know how good MVP is. I haven't seen him fight anybody. He's fought a couple guys that stood right in front of him and just let him go
Crack his
ballistic. And then he had a couple guys that tried to make it ugly and just made it boring as shit. So when you get a guy like Paul Daly who's got a legit left and right hand, it comes from a really strong United Kingdom kickboxing background. Look at the odds. If the odds are like, if Daly's...
plus 170 for Daly.
So he's the dog?
Dog, yeah.
You know what? I would feel comfortable with that dog pick.
Yeah, I like some dogs this weekend, especially on Bellator.
Yeah.
I love the Bellator. Dude, it's not going to be on DAZN. Like, Saturday is not going to be on DAZN. It's going to be on Paramount.
Check real quick. Did I tell you my story about DAZN? When we first started talking about it, I was like, DAZN? I didn't know how to pronounce it, and then somebody said it was called DAZN. I'm like, the zone, like in the zone. They took I'm in the zone to I'm in the zone to even making it worse and making it cut the zone like
the zone. It reminds me of a calzone.
What's wrong with these people?
Or the man. Does it say what that's on? Because surely they're not using a streaming service and they're going head to head with ESPN1.
Dude, those streaming services are a huge
yeah, for people smarter than fight fans. I mean, we're talking about like streaming service. Dude, come on. Like, we just give up and pay $60 to watch a pay-per-view.
Oh, no, it's on both. It's on Paramount and DAZN. And by the way, they spelled DAZN, D-A-Z-N. Pathetic.
D-A-Z-N.
I don't think I'll ever
That's DAZN.
No, it's DAZN.
That's crazy.
Let me see real quick. The other thing people are kind of cracking up are both these guys are from the United Kingdom and they're fighting in Uncasville, Connecticut.
That's awesome.
The second one I don't see the thing on, but there's a good chance they're probably both going to play on both DAZN and Paramount, which is formerly Spike TV.
You said Uncasville, Connecticut?
Uncasville, Connecticut.
Uncasville.
I wonder how far it is outside ESPN's territory.
It looks like it's a pretty big city. Can't be, right?
Get that.
Oh, the Mohegan Sun. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. That's all they have, though.
Is it an Indian reservation?
No, it is not.
In Uncasville, Connecticut.
This is not a...
I've read some Stephen King books up there. I know there's some Indians. Pet Cemetery, they're up there in that area. He told me.
Yeah, the Mohegan Sun.
Well,
I'm pretty sure they have a WNBA team there. Yep, they do.
That's so messed up that you know that.
Well, dude, they're the Connecticut Sun, and I was like, why the hell would you put the Sun in Connecticut? Like,
there's no sun in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's like, welcome to Anchorage, Alaska, home of the sun. No, and it was because of the Mohegan Sun. So I guess that makes sense. Anything else?
No, sorry about missing last week, guys. Sorry.
We're back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle, all winners.
And on that note, for Drake, for Mr. Shackelford, and Leighton in his large pizza in an AMC theater, as always, Dippers, stay saucy.